All right, it's been a little while since I've done one of these. Um, Heads up, kitties are in here with me. It's nice and windy outside. One of my screens fell off and I need my kids' help with it because I think I'm too short to reach all the way across the bush to put it back up. So sorry if that's a little distracting. Anyway, so like I started off with saying, it's been a little while since I've done one of these. I've been thinking about it. And, as usual, I come up with ideas, stuff I should probably talk about. Then I think about jotting it down. Then I realize I'm probably never going to actually look at the bullet points. And so I should just do like my usual, and it's go from the gut. The first one of these, Life with Lynda's, I did. I think I said the reason I was starting it, well, two of the reasons. One, I have I've had a lot of students who have suggested I write stuff down and things like that because my life is not exactly the typical. I say the one student because she's the one who came up with the name Life with Lynda. And I thought that was kind of cute. The other reason was, therapy, because therapy costs. And when I first started these, I wasn't able to see my therapist for a while because of cost. I've been seeing her again, and we are about to start EDMR therapy because it turns out she is certified in EDMR therapy and thinks it'll really help. So there you go. That'll be cool. So as I do that, I plan to share some of that information with you. But I figured I should probably tell you a little bit about me, just generic, or what I count as generic. Since I don't rewatch my stuff, I really don't remember what all I said in the very first one. I just remember it was last year and I was going to my first Jewish wedding. That's pretty much the extent of my memory of the first one I did. So I'm going to tell you a few basics about myself. I have truly thought about writing some stuff up a few times because, like I said, it's been pointed out that my life is not exactly typical. The times I've thought about writing anything up, the only thing I could decide on for sure was the name. No, it was not Life with Lynda. If I ever have somebody who can help me with writing a book about me, which I think is really weird, it would be called The Throwaway Child, because that is honestly what I have always considered myself. I have always been the throwaway child. I figured that would be a good reason, a good topic to talk about for this Life with Lynda. Now, why the throwaway child? One might ask. And also one might ask, what do you mean if you ever write? Well, I have been told countless times that my life is not typical. But when it is your life, you don't understand what is not normal. And I share like every ounce of me with my students. If I can help make a connection with something, I use my own personal experiences to make the connection. That's just how I work. That's how I learn. That's how I teach. So anyone who has spent time with me has gotten to know a lot about me. And I know that was all kind of jumbled together, but just go with me. Look, there's Fang. Anyway, since I don't know what is typical and what is not typical, it makes it hard for me to know what parts to really share. There are parts that I know 100% are not typical. So those are the parts that are easiest for me to talk about because I know that it's not normal. And there you go. But most of the other stuff, I'm just clueless. So we're going to start with this. When I was born, we have a few different things. Some of this stuff, obviously, I was told and I learned. Other stuff is memory. So I was born 1 month early, and I was 5 pounds, 6 ounces. And I was told that I was very small, red and wrinkly, screaming. I was so small, my mom said she didn't want to hold me. And my dad's first reaction, apparently, what I was always told was, it's a boy. And then he was informed, no, that's the umbilical cord. And then he looked and said, she's ugly. So for my entire life, I was raised with being told the first things out of my own father's mouth was pretty much disappointment that I was not born a boy and that I was ugly. My mom didn't want to hold me, said I was too small, had the RH factor going on in my body. So parents' blood fighting inside me. And so I was born and then shoved into an incubator. I was supposed to, well, the doctors apparently said, hey, she needs a blood transfusion, help her out, blah, blah, blah. And my mom said no and said that if I was supposed to survive, then God would make sure I survived, and said I was not allowed to get the blood transfusion. So apparently I'm supposed to be here because I didn't die. Yay. Now, that's a little bit of information there for you. Imagine growing up with this knowledge, like being told this countless times. I understand that some people might sit there and say, well, you should take, I don't know, you should take a positive stance for it. See, clearly you're supposed to be here. I'm a mom, and the idea that my own mother wouldn't do a medical procedure that the doctor said would save me, but instead said, if she's meant to live, she will. I don't quite understand that. I don't know. So that doesn't really make you feel the most wanted growing up. As a kid, I consistently asked my mother if we were wanted, me and my sister. And my mom, every single time, would assure us that we were planned pregnancies. At no point did she realize there's kind of a difference between planned and wanted. She never answered that we were wanted, always just planned. So that takes a bit, to adjust to. And I had pneumonia when I was a little kid. I had a lot of anger issues when I was a kid. I did not have a great first of life, we will just say. And that I kind of skip over, and I tend to cover that in the unlisted, very personal videos. For this, I try to keep it more surface, but let's just say my entire start to this world did not exactly set me up for feeling valued, important, anything positive, pretty much. And due to the upbringing, I had and still have a lot of issues I'm working on. Now, fast forward, in 1985, and yes, my eye is itching like crazy. It's driving me nuts. In 1985, my father passed from a heart attack. I was in 9th grade, and that's the last year I went to school. I finished the 9th grade with more anger issues. Don't really know what else to say about that. I can tell you that even before that, see, this would be so much better if I did have those bullet points so I could, go linear, but I don't always work that way, so sorry. My sister is older than me. She was born, I think they say, a day late, an absolutely beautiful baby, the right size, nice and smooth skin, olive skin, blah, 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 perfect child. She always got the straight A's. All the teachers loved her, all of that kind of thing. So in school, as I would come up and get the same teachers behind my sister, every one of them expected me to be my sister. Every time when they discovered I was not my sister, they were sorely disappointed and would write me off every time. So you have that. And then, of course, my father passing. And that is not an easy thing because my mom is friggin' crazy. And I don't say that lightly. We're pretty sure that she's probably schizophrenic. And I just can't get her to ever go get tested. She is now 79. I do everything I can to try to help her because I think that's what you're supposed to do. But she's definitely not stable. And she was by far not stable when my father passed. I'd say a week or so after my father passed, we had people from the church coming over and lecturing us on what we needed to do to make life easier for my mom. And I got the brunt of it, where I was told I'm supposed to make sure they're taken care of. I'm supposed to make sure that my mom is taken care of because she no longer has her husband. My sister idolized my dad, and she's trying so hard to walk in his footsteps, and I'm supposed to make sure that she's covered. But at no point did it seem important for me to be addressed other than what I could do for other people. So that's what I did. I picked it up. I quit school, like I said, after 9th grade, moved out at 17, got an apartment with my sister who was going to college, and I worked and paid bills. That was my job, worked and paid bills, helped my sister. Then we moved to North Carolina so my sister could go to Duke Law School, and I moved up there, and I also, worked and paid bills. I did do one part of schooling because my mother told me that if I went to this travel agency school, then she would pay my part for where we were living. So I did that. I had no desire to ever be a travel agent, but it was entertaining. I was still just a high school dropout with a GED. Never once got a job in the travel industry field, but I did it. As soon as I was done, my mom stopped helping pay for anything, and I went back to working and helping take care of my sister. Let's see. Trying to think if there's something else I should add into that part. I mean, the basic gist, is high school dropout, 9th grade dropout, got a GED, and just kept working. So I kept working just various jobs. And then in 91 is when Brian was killed. I've talked about him in previous ones. And that kind of just messed with my head a little too much. The same month that Brian died, my cat Pie died. And that was a little too much for Lynda's sanity. I just remember crying a whole lot. And that's when I decided to move back to the Atlanta area, starting going to photography school. But I have a different style, pretty much. And the photography school told me that no one would ever want pictures done the way I did them. And I needed to learn to be more like everybody else, pretty much. So I quit that school. And I had an art showing at Club Berlin in Atlanta. And I sent them an invitation just to be like, ha ha, because somebody liked my photography. Never really went anywhere with it. I did have a photography studio for a little while, and that was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Got married, had kids. For a little while, had the dream of getting to be the stay-at-home mom, because what I wanted more than anything was to be a mom. I wanted to be the person to have kids, take care of the kids, be the mom who all the friends came to, who was always there in the classroom, who helped with field trips and all of that. And I got that for like this much time. Then my now ex-husband lost his job, and he had this habit of he would lose a job and then not do anything for a little bit, and then would eventually get a new job. And then actually each job he got was a little bit better than the previous. I, of course, was still just a high school dropout. First son born 95, second son born 99. We had arguments about drugs, my ex and I. I didn't want them anywhere near my kids. I had previously done them. So had he. We had done them together. When I decided it was time for kids, I cut all that crap out of my life. I even cut out friends who were still into that lifestyle because I did not want that around my kids. I freaking quit eating meat for my kids. I became a vegetarian as soon as I was pregnant with Pax because I wanted to make sure I made the healthiest child I could. Throughout my life, I've done a whole lot of introspection. I try to figure myself out, look at my brain. Why do I do this? I did a lot of that when I was pregnant with Pax. But previously, before that, when I dropped out of high school and all, I wanted to know who I was. I wanted to find myself. And the only reason I mention this is because I still have family members who, to this day, still make fun of me for taking the time to figure out who I am. But I do think that's important. So while pregnant with Pax, I tried to figure out a whole lot about myself because I didn't want to mess him up. And I knew I had issues. So one of the things I did was I worked really hard to remember as much of my childhood as I could. My attitude pretty much was, if I could remember how it felt when people said or did things to me, then I could make sure my own kid never had to feel like that by not doing that. It's pretty much the main philosophy of how I've been mom and now how I am a teacher. Anyway, 95 Pax was born, 99 Jacob was born. Then what is that, 2001? It was before the Twin Towers. My now ex lost his job again, seemed to have no desire to try to get a new job, was perfectly happy to just sit there. And so I went from finally being stay-at-home mom, class mom, and all that stuff to getting 2 jobs. I was working as the bath specialist at Linens and Things and rose up to be a supervisor for a company that was cleaning public buildings at night in Durham and Chapel Hill, North Carolina. There were some days where I was inside my house a total of 8 hours because, again, I was doing 2 jobs. I rarely saw my kids, but I was a high school dropout and my then husband wouldn't work and I was just doing everything I could. Sure, it's no surprise I couldn't keep it up. We had to leave and we moved in with my mother. During this time, my dog died. That one killed me. Loved my dog. But we moved into my mom's house. My mom does not have, or did not have, a big house. It was a total of 3 bedrooms, one of which she deemed her office. And so my then husband, my 2 kids, and my 2 remaining cats all moved into 1 bedroom and bathroom in her house, while she also had her dogs. While I was there, it's like I transferred my job from Linens and Things from North Carolina down to the Atlanta area. And I was the only one working. My mom didn't work. My ex didn't work. I was also homeschooling my kids because I didn't know enough about the school system there. My youngest was still too little, only had to worry about Pax. And I just hadn't heard good things about the school system. So I was the only one working and I was homeschooling. Then my mom didn't want us to be at her house all the time. She said it was taking up too much space, something like that. And she couldn't take it. And my ex moved down to where his family lived, 4 hours south. And the kids and I lived half the week at my mother's house, half the week at somebody else's house. And I was still the only one to work. and pay bills. During this time, my aunt and uncle reported me to the Department of Family and Children Services, saying that I was neglecting my kids, and I can't remember what else, but basically I get a letter from DFACS telling me that I've had charges filed that I'm an unfit mother. Whew, that one was hard. That one actually to this day still hurts. I am a believer in being 100% honest with your kids. So I explained to my kids that somebody said I wasn't taking proper care of them, and that somebody was going to come in and interview us, and it was important for them to be honest and let them know whatever they ask. Now, being reported to DFACS is already a scary thing. Imagine being reported to DFACS when you don't have a home. I mean, I honestly did not have a home. I was splitting my time between two places because I had nowhere to live. That one was hard. So after the whole investigation, for the longest time, I held on to that piece of paper that said that they found me a fit mother. Clearly, it still gets to me. Thankfully, they decided not letting my kids get in my mom's crappy pickup truck was not being neglectful, and that homeschooling my kids was not being neglectful. But it really hurt. And again, of course, did not really make me feel safe, important, any of those things. So my job at Linens and Things felt bad that my then husband and myself were living apart. So they saved up money and came up with the first and last month's rent and security deposit for a place down where he was. So that's how I ended up down in the South Georgia area, the Valdosta area. Continued to homeschool, continued to make things work, kept trying to figure things out. My ex was working. I can't even remember what job he had. It was not a grand job. I have no idea. For such a smart guy, he just had zero drive. I got a job at TA, working behind the computer at the truck stop, in the service area. While I was there, I decided I wanted to learn how to fix trucks. Now, I should mention previously, I have had so many friggin' different jobs. I had the photography studio. I had been cocktail waitress before Jacob was born. After Pax was born, I worked for a company called ITW, and I was their first female extruder operator. I've always had the attitude of you need to enjoy what you do. Don't be lazy, but you need to enjoy your job. You do a better job if you thoroughly enjoy it. As soon as you don't enjoy it anymore, it's time to reevaluate and figure out where to go. So, get the job at the TA, working in the garage, talking with all the mechanics, checking it out. And then I said I wanted to be a mechanic. I'm like, hey, I think I could do this. It looks like fun. I love taking things apart and learning how they go together. And I can make so much more money this way and better provide for my kids. It's somewhere in this general area where I packed up the kids and left my now ex-husband. I think it was before I became a mechanic, but the whole timeline right there is very blended. But I did. I made us a 3-person home. Found a crappy place in the middle of nowhere that was $325 a month, so I could afford it. In order to become a mechanic, I had to, 1, get my own tools, which I did, which is normal for most mechanics. But the part that I didn't think was quite fair because the manager did not do this to anybody else, only me. I had to prove that I wanted it. All the guys could just become mechanics and they would get on the job training right off the bat. I had to prove I wanted it. And he gave me random crap to study and memorize, to where I can tell you all about the stupid light bulbs, the filament, all of that crap, because for some reason that's one of the things the manager told me I had to memorize. And he would bring people in and go, oh, this is the one who wants to become a mechanic. Hey, Linda. And then he would ask me a question about light bulbs or whatever. And I would have to be basically perform like a monkey and answer these questions. All of this just to prove that I wanted the job bad enough. So I start working out in the bay, start fixing trucks. Some of the mechanics were great. They 100% took me under their wing and they taught me so many things, and it was great. Drivers, on the other hand, apparently don't like having girls work on their trucks. And it's also more of a guys kind of club. I had to put up with a lot of innuendos, comments. To give you an example, one of the most common comments I got to hear was when the guys are sitting there waiting for their trucks to be serviced, they would look at me and tell me to come sit on their lap so they can talk about what comes up. And I had to just, oh, ha, ha, that's so funny, ha, 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 and walk off because, you know, I had drivers who, while I'm fixing the tire or doing work on the truck, would pull out their kid, their son, and say, look, if she can do it, obviously you can, you just need to actually try. I guess that's a weird kind of compliment. Then we had the guy who came through who said, no female is going to touch his truck. And I will tell you, that is the proudest I have ever been of the other mechanics at this truck stop, because no one else would take his ticket. The way it works, the tickets are in there, you finish a job, you get the next one in line. His was the one I was supposed to get, and he wouldn't let me touch his truck. And so everybody else refused. And I don't know, that made me proud of my guys that time. I got AC certified. I was one of 3 people at the truck stop who was AC certified. And so I got to work on the AC unit, stuff like that. Then it was 2004. And one of the other mechanics, Joe, said he wanted to go to college, but he didn't want to go by himself. And he suggested, you know, for me to go. And I told him I'm too old to go to college. He said, you're too old not to. And I went, good point. And so we both applied. We both went and took the, you know, entrance exam. And so in January 2005, we both started college. There you go. So I was the 9th grade dropout who got a GED at 18, who in her 30s was now starting college. I did not feel like I fit in at all. When I started the job, started school, my arms were still stained from the grease from fixing trucks. I was terrified to talk out loud. I still remember sitting there in my English class wanting to answer something, and I'd look down and you could see my heart just pounding out of my shirt. It would be that bad. I didn't feel like I belonged, but I thoroughly enjoyed learning, and that helped. It also was hard because the job I had was a full-time job. And as a mechanic, I told him I can't be a full-time mom, a full-time student, and full-time mechanic, that there's not enough hours in the day. And they wouldn't let me work part-time. They told me to just take night classes because I worked on day shift. And I told them I can't, because the classes I'm taking are during the day while my kids are at school. So I didn't have to worry about childcare either. And so they told me that I could always fix the trucks at night. I said, I can't be up from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. fixing trucks and then trying to go to school all day. I don't have anyone to be with my kids all night. And if I'm that exhausted, do you really want me in charge of things like brakes on an 18-wheeler. They said that was not their problem, so I quit. To this day, I still miss fixing trucks. I really do. I loved that job more than I can ever say. I enjoyed it beyond belief. Randomly, I've changed other people's alternators just, for something to do. I still have my tools, but I know I'm not ever going to be a mechanic again. Kind of wanted one of my kids to be a mechanic so I could gift them all my tools, but that hasn't happened. Let's see, start college. It didn't take long for me to end up adding more and more to my college. Ended up majoring in biology and kept taking these extra philosophy and religious studies courses until one of my professors pointed out I could easily get a minor in that. So I was like, all right. Then I kept taking the classes, and then it was pointed out I only had to do like, 2 more things in a capstone, and I'd have a whole other bachelor's in philosophy. So I was like, sure. So what ended up happening is December of 2009, Lynda, the 9th grade dropout, graduated with honors with a bachelor's in science and biology and a bachelor of arts in philosophy. Yay! That following January, I began my master's in biology. That summer, I began my master's in public administration because I had a teacher who had pulled me aside and said that with the philosophy degree and all of that stuff, if I went for the MPA, actually, I don't think it had to do with the philosophy, sorry, the biology stuff, that with the MPA, I would be able to work with nonprofits. And my dream had been to start never know how to word this one right. I wanted some kind of program to help educate people about autism. Not the myths, not the what you think it is, but all of us who, when you meet us, would not say you look autistic. Because so many people have this idea that autism means this level, when that's not necessarily true. And a lot of people, like myself and my kids, we slip through the cracks because we're also insanely stubborn and we fight like crazy not to fail. And my youngest, when he was first diagnosed and I tried to get assistance, I was told that no assistance was available until he had failed at least 2 grades. And that made no sense to me because I was doing everything I could to make sure he didn't fail, because I don't think you should have to fail to get help, So I really wanted to come up with a nonprofit to help that. I had this whole idea also of mixing Minecraft with autism because my kids were obsessed with Minecraft, like before it even was official. We went to the very first Minecon. I spoke on one of those panels. Went to the 3rd Minecon, had my own talk. That's on YouTube too. It's horrible, but it was fun. And it was based about autism and Minecraft. And I thought Minecraft, with how you can build worlds for kids who were nervous about like going to a new school or a new place, you could make the world in Minecraft so they could learn the layout, and that kind of thing. So I did a whole talk on this. Thought it was fascinating. That's the whole reason I went for the MPA. Finished the MPA. The master's in biology, I did everything except the thesis. I never got the thesis accepted. I got burnt out on the bullcrap, the bureaucracy of it. There is no better way to say it than that. I passed everything. I did all the tests. I did all the coursework. It's just that stupid thesis. And it still bothers me that I didn't finish that. I started a doctorate in public administration because the guy running it said I could make that nonprofit I want to do, and that would count as my entire capstone. Like, instead of writing a dissertation, I would actively get this thing started. That's what I was doing. Ran out of funds. Actually, first had an occasion where went to visit a friend and she snapped, and I ended up basically locking myself in a room while she was beating on the door and yelling a bunch of things at me and stuff. And it brought my PTSD stuff back that I already had from previous stuff that I didn't mention in here. And when I got back, I couldn't finish the classes I was currently taking. It took a few days to get myself to be able to walk out the door, but I'm also very stubborn, and I wouldn't let that win. And so I had to get out the door. Teaching was hard during that. Oh yeah, during grad school, I started teaching. Forgot to mention that. I begged and pleaded not to have to teach in grad school, but then I found it was, you hear people say it's your calling. I think that's mine. I think for teaching, that's what it is. And a lot of it is because of not having the traditional background, having gone to college at a later stage, never fitting in, never being good enough, always being told how you're not good enough. I take all that into the classroom. I hated always being confused, always being lost, not understanding, when asking a question, not getting it answered, that kind of thing. So I've brought all that into my classroom. And so I tell students a lot about me on day one, so they understand that I'm not going to be like all the other teachers, because I'm not capable of being like all the other teachers. I have some students who hate me, of course. I have others who absolutely adore me. So, it is what it is. Could I improve? Probably. Could I be worse? Yes. Do I do everything in my power to be the best teacher I can be? Yeah, I really 100% think I do. So let's see. Those were the educations. When I finished grad school, that's when I started teaching actual classes, not just teaching labs as a grad assistant. So I have been teaching college courses since August of 2012. Nobody hires you full-time for this, it seems. I don't know what you have to do to get hired full-time. I have 3 jobs, 3 different universities, all of them in different systems, because you can't get multiple jobs in one system. Otherwise, that would have to count as full-time, and they're not going to give you full-time. And so I have to, when I need more money, find another job that doesn't counter any of the previous jobs. So I teach for 3 different universities. I tutor on the side. I still can't make enough. I keep trying, but I can't. I have recently started grad school again, this time for a master's in nutritional science. Some people think I'm crazy for it, but the big push for doing this is my mom, who I mentioned a while ago in this little talk. My mom is not healthy. She hasn't been healthy for a very long time. And I've tried to talk to her for like ages about different things. But the big change came when she was told she was in stage 4 kidney disease. And I had learned a whole bunch about the whole kidney stuff, because that's another quick little tidbit on me, is one of my former students, he had been on dialysis. And I thought dialysis was just, you plug them up, you clean it up, hey, it's fine. But it turns out it's way more invasive than that. It's exhausting. And I got to know my students, saw how exhausting it was. And, blah, blah, blah. I ended up donating a kidney in 2015 to him. And I got to watch how everything worked. And I got to see in 2016 as his body rejected the kidney. And I felt horrible because, and yes, I know this is not logical, but I still feel like I just wasn't good enough. I try not to mention this one too much, because this is where the logic and the heart don't match. Logically, I know it has nothing to do with me. I passed all the tests they gave. It's supposed to be a match. It was a beautiful match for a year until his body decided to reject it. But for some reason, I still feel like it's my fault. Like I wasn't good enough. My kidney wasn't good enough. You know, it's so stupid. I know it's stupid. But anyway, so as my mom's kidney is going downhill, I know I don't have a kidney for her, you know, kind of already gave up my spare. So I started researching diet. And I took my mom off all dairy. Now, when I say I took my mom off all dairy, I told her, this is how you need to eat. We need to take this out. But then COVID hit and I wouldn't even let her go to the grocery store. She doesn't have a car, so she can't drive anywhere. So during COVID, I would go out there and stay for a day or two. And I would take her grocery shopping during the senior hours at like, 6 a.m. before they opened for anybody else. So then we could do her shopping and then get her home. So I seriously enforced the no dairy. And then she got to stage 3 kidney disease. And I was like, holy crap, she's actually healing. She's doing better. And that made me like, I don't know, that made me excited. I got to see a change. Made me excited that maybe I could help other people. And it gave me the idea to try to do something to expand my knowledge, to better help people, and also be more marketable teaching. Because if I can get more education, maybe somebody will hire me full time. That would be really cool. So I applied, got in, University of Texas, Austin, doing the Master's in Nutritional Science. As of today, we should be turning in our final paper for this class. So this would be class number 4. Yeah, this is class number 4. Don't know if I have any kind of money to take the summer class. I have no clue if I'm going to have the funding to finish this degree. I'm just going to keep trying. I keep borrowing. It's the worst thing, but I don't know what else to do. I keep trying to find a way to do more, to make more, to take care of more, because my mom couldn't keep staying at her house. She had no money. She would just not eat sometimes. That was a big part of why I would keep going out there, is go out there to make sure she got food, and would fill up her pantry and the refrigerator, things like that. So got her moved into an active adult apartment, not too far from my house. It's like in between my house and where I teach in person. Her other place had been like a little over an hour drive away. So it was a lot harder to visit her. So now I can see her every single week, make sure she's taken care of. She has people around her. So, you know, she has friends and social stuff like that. I know she's taken care of. Problem is, the rent is way too friggin' high. When she sold her house, I helped her divvy up the funds for it and had her put at least 2 years worth of rent in one account, just to make sure we had 2 years to start coming up with more money. That's when I got job number 3. The entire idea was to take job number 3, and that was I was going to just put into the account for her to start supplementing her income so she would have rent, because Social Security doesn't pay enough for her to live in this apartment. We've had enough other things happen. We had our own craziness that happened in our house, which I only discuss on the super private one, because while it is the main thing that has affected my life, and I have a whole lot of healing to do from it, and it has caused so much trauma and so much strife, it's not only my story to tell, so I can't put that one here. But I keep taking on more jobs and I'm drowning. That's all there is to it. I'm drowning. I keep trying. I keep trying to bring it up. I keep hoping that I can eventually get, you know, a big girl job. But I'm a good teacher. I like teaching. I help make the little light bulb turn on for some people. It's just frustrating to finally find something that I honestly think I'm good at. And I'm still not good enough to be able to get everything paid for. I can't make any repairs if something breaks. I can't pay my mom's rent. I can't take care of everybody around me. And I'm tired. I think that's the biggest. I'm tired. But there's nothing else I can do other than figure out how to do more. So, yet again, I like what Lynda starts off, la la la, and then ends up into a therapy session, right? I keep trying. I keep hoping. Keep praying. I need some kind of miracle. I need a fairy godmother, you know? And the thing is, I don't even want much. If I could have some big dream, if I had like, you know, the genie wish thing, I would wish for a nice big chunk of change dropped into an account for my mom, so she never has to worry about her rent, doesn't have to worry about if she, you know, if she's going to have to try to figure out where to go because she can't afford this place because she wants to finish her days here. I want her to be able to buy groceries every week. Because sometimes she'll ask me for help and other times she won't. I want her to have the independence. She's trying. She's writing her own book, and she's convinced if she just hurries up and finishes her book, she'll have the royalties roll in, so then everything will be taken care of, and then she can help take care of me. And it's sweet that that's what she wants to do, but I know she can't. I know no one's going to buy this book. I know it's not going to do anything, but I encourage her because it makes her happy. So my one dream, first wish, would be chunk of something there so my mom could just live out her days and not worry, you know? Wish number 2, 2019, took out this stupid partial loan thing for my house, and I have 7 years to pay it back in full, and it's based on a certain percentage, and every year it goes up. I just want that gone. I want to pay it off. I want that paid off. And if it was possible to pay down any of my other debt, that would be cool, but the house is the number one thing. And then funny thing is, the last thing I constantly wish for is something I don't even know if it even exists. I wish that there was a place and that it was possible and affordable, somewhere I could go myself. Basically, imagine resort with therapy. I would love to go somewhere where I could not have to take care. Where I could not have to take care of everybody else. I would like to have like a month of focusing on healing, on just healing, getting better, resting. This is Osiris, by another one of my rescues. I would love to have about a month to just have intensive therapy to deal with all my issues. And to just rest. Crazy thing is, I don't know why that made me cry. Other than, I guess, just being tired, right? Yeah, I keep looking at my little thing, my baby. So this life with Lynda did not end up super cheerful. I know I said a few things in there that are not typical for the everyday world. Can't think of any other quick little ones. I would love to end it on a more positive note, but to be honest, I am really tired of talking. So I think I'm going to end this. Tomorrow is the day off that I have promised myself. I even wrote it on the calendar. I have completed almost absolutely everything today. I've already done the grading for the 3 classes just ended. I've already posted the grades, finished the final project with my group for the class that's closing tomorrow. Tomorrow's my day off. And so I'm going to concentrate on that now. And I guess that's it. And hopefully next time I'll just have some fun stories or something. So I guess that's all. So peace out.